Schools and educators across the nation are under enormous pressure to find ways to keep teaching students confined to their homes because of the pandemic. And according to an Ed Week research survey conducted in May, 42% of teachers said student engagement was much lower than before the pandemic. CBSN producer Jean Song spoke with the CEO of one Boston startup that's using artificial intelligence to try and change that.
What COVID did to attendance was, for the first time, I think, one, shift in emphasis from attendance to being a student in a seat for a given amount of time to how do we ensure that during these times students are actually engaged in learning wherever that learning is taking place.
AllHere founder Joanna Smith is on a mission to tackle the issue of chronic absenteeism with AI-powered interventions. This includes a recently launched messaging bot that enables school districts to provide 24/7 support to families.
Since a student's journey to school is not as linear as it once was, I think that one of the most powerful things that we're using AI to be able to do at AllHere is guide students through each and every task for which they may need help. So for some students, it's having that nudge that, hey, you need to log in by 9 a.m. to be counted as here. For some families, it is that nudge that their intent to return form is due by August 1st.
It's particularly timely considering, on average, teachers reported 40% of students did not regularly engage in remote learning this spring. That number went up to 50% in districts with higher poverty rates.
For some students, it was that school shut down and then they went home the next week and then they were able to start learning. They had Wi-Fi, they had content chosen, and essentially they were able to keep those wheels running and in a way that minimized their learning loss. But for some students, as a function of their school's resources, since schooling in the US is so closely tied to property taxes, what happened was when schools closed down, there was a gap and there was a lag in even being able to provision those educational opportunities to youth.
With firsthand experience as a former educator and family engagement coordinator, Smith said many schools still use outdated outreach methods, including robocalls and conventional mail.
There are just so many more ways that we can communicate and exchange information with parents.
Now, with 30 school systems adopting the chatbot, Smith hopes to take some of the burden of interventional work off the shoulders of educators.
One of the beautiful things also is thinking of the bot as your first line. So the bot, for example, can answer anywhere from 70 to 80% of incoming questions in about 2 to 3 seconds or less. But in the event that the AI receives a question that it cannot answer, that's when you want it to be escalated to a human. So by no means can AI replace student-staff partnerships or even student-family partnerships. But what it can create is an environment where those staff, as opposed to just using all of their time to answer basic questions, it saves their time to focus on more meaningful interaction.